When I have a new score to study for the first time, the temptation is to just go the easy route. And you open up the score, there's 1,000 things on every page. I compare it often to going into a forest for the first time. You don't walk into the forest and immediately drop to your knees and start looking at blades of grass and ladybugs and little ants and mushrooms. You just breathe. You just look around you and you get the sense of, oh, this is a deciduous forest, or this is full of aspen trees, or it's in the mountains. You get a general idea. And then on repeated visits to this forest, you become more and more familiar with it. So you realize, oh, this area there's a clearing, and this area all the birds live, and there's a stream over here. Then, after a longer period of time, you get to know this forest so well that you know when one specific deer doesn't come back that year, or when one tree has fallen, or you know every little nook and cranny of this forest. That's how I approach a score, especially a large score like a Mahler score or something like that. You can't just jump in and start marking cues and marking little harmonies and things like that. So I take a piece, let's say it's Mahler's First Symphony, huge, complicated forms that don't fit into traditional sonata form or rondo or variations. And I just look at the big form first and I say, what are the major signposts here? What's the climax? Because a piece can only have one true climax. I mark these things in. I decide what kind of form. Is it sonata form? Fine. Exposition, development, recapitulation, coda, maybe introduction. I break down sort of the four walls of the house. And then I go smaller. It's always a bird's eye view, a bird sort of circling down, getting a closer and closer view. So now I know the form. Now, what is in each of the rooms? What are the individual themes? Are there two themes? What are the transitions? Is there an extra theme in there somewhere? And I mark that in pencil. Then I mark each individual length of every phrase, whether it's 8 bars or 7 bars. And if it's 8 bars, is it 4 plus 4, or is it 7 plus 1, or what is it? I figure out the structure, just like a poem would have stanzas, and within those stanzas are lines, and those lines have punctuation. That's what I write into the music. How do the phrases get structured? And within that part of my analysis, I have to figure out what the harmony is. For composers, the key areas are so important. So what is the key of the whole movement? How do they use the harmony to express what they're trying to express? So I write in every single measure, sometimes, what the harmony is, depending on the composer. And only at that point can I really dig deep into how exactly do the motives get altered and changed and thrown around, and how do they relate to each other. And then at that point, can I mark in, okay, cue the oboe here, cue the trumpet here. And then I kind of start to build in my own expressive ideas. A lot of composers like Bach or Mozart, they write piano for 28 measures, nothing else. But if you just play it one dynamic, it's boring. And so you write in expressive marks, a little crescendo here, a little rallentando here, a little breath. I write in the bowings for string instruments exactly how I want them to bow it. So the idea is, at first, you kind of just let your fantasy take over. What is this piece trying to say? What is the narrative? What is the general world? And then in order to really make that narrative be crystal clear, you have to get into the weeds a little bit.